In this video, we are going inside America's massive floating sea base built for secret missions, the kind of ship that does not look like a Hollywood warship, does not need to brag, and still changes what the US military can do far from home. This is not just steel on water. It is a floating launch pad, garage, hotel, airport, command post, and backup plan, starting with, picture a giant gray platform sitting out at sea. Not sleek, not glamorous, not built to win beauty contests, unless the contest is being judged by cargo cranes and helicopter pilots. An expeditionary sea base looks strange because it is not trying to be a destroyer, carrier, or cruise ship. It is built to be useful. That is the whole trick. The Navy describes these ships as platforms that support maritime missions like Special Operations Forces and airborne mine countermeasures. They have a large flight deck, a mission deck, a hangar, berthing, equipment staging space, and command and control capability. In normal language, that means America can park a working military base in the ocean without needing permission to build one on land. That is the point. A land base needs runways, roads, housing, security, politics, contracts, gates, fuel farms, and a whole argument with geography. A sea base shows up already assembled. It may not look dramatic from the outside, but for the people operating around it, it can be the difference between having support nearby and being alone in the middle of nowhere. The ocean is huge, which is a polite way of saying it does not care about your schedule. If a helicopter has to fly too far, it burns fuel. If a small boat has to travel too far, the crew gets beaten up by weather. If a mission has no nearby maintenance, supplies, medical help, planning space, or command link, everything becomes harder. That is where an expeditionary sea base changes the math. It can sit closer to the action than a port. It can support aircraft, boats, unmanned systems, small teams, maintenance crews, and mission planners. It gives people a place to refuel, rest, repair, stage equipment, and coordinate without sailing all the way back to shore. That sounds simple until you imagine doing it without the ship. Without the sea base, every mission needs a chain stretching back to land. With the sea base, that chain moves forward. It is not magic. It is logistics with a flight deck. And in the military, logistics is usually the difference between a bold plan and a PowerPoint fantasy. One of the strangest things about an ESB is that it acts like a floating garage for serious equipment. The mission deck can hold gear that would be awkward, heavy, wet, loud, and very unpleasant to keep in somebody's office. Rigid hull inflatable boats, mine countermeasure gear, unmanned systems, containers, spare parts, and mission-specific equipment can be staged where crews can actually reach it. That matters because secret or sensitive missions are not just about people sneaking around in the dark. They are about batteries, radios, fuel, tools, straps, helmets, charts, spare engines, and somebody trying to find the one connector that always disappears at exactly the wrong time. A mission is never just the dramatic 5 minutes. It is the 12 hours of preparation before it, the maintenance afterward, and the poor sailor who has to make sure everything is tied down before the ocean starts throwing furniture. The ESB gives that work a home. The flight deck is one of the biggest reasons these ships matter. ESBs are built with multiple helicopter operating spots and hangar space. Public Navy information describes a 4-spot flight deck and aviation facilities able to support rotary wing aircraft. That means helicopters can land, launch, refuel, and be maintained closer to where missions are happening. For a civilian, a helicopter landing looks exciting for about 10 seconds. For the crew, it is a loud, windy, dangerous ballet performed on steel while the sea moves underneath them like it has an attitude problem. The deck crew has to manage rotors, tie-downs, fueling, signals, heat, noise, and safety zones. Everyone knows where to stand because standing in the wrong place around a helicopter is not a personality quirk. It is a medical event. That flight deck turns distance into possibility. A helicopter that would have been limited by range can now use the sea base as a stepping stone. A mission that needed a nearby landing spot suddenly has one. That is why this ship matters. It moves the runway. The hangar is where the less cinematic work happens. People love watching aircraft launch. Nobody makes posters of the maintenance checklist, but the checklist is what keeps the aircraft flying. Inside the hangar, crews can inspect, repair, store, and prepare aircraft and equipment. Tools come out, panels open, parts get checked, fuel systems get watched, blades get secured. The glamorous part of aviation is the takeoff. The honest part is maintenance. On land, a hangar sits still. On an ESB, that workspace moves with the ship. The floor vibrates, the weather changes. Salt gets everywhere because salt water is basically nature's tiny unpaid inspector searching for anything metal it can ruin. So the people inside that hangar are not just mechanics. They are keeping an air operation alive in an environment that constantly tries to wear everything down. That is the hidden work behind every mission. Not every mission leaves by helicopter. Some work moves by small boat. The ESB can support boats and equipment staging, giving teams a place to launch, recover, load, unload, and maintain gear near the mission area. That may sound easy until you remember the ocean is moving, the boat is moving, the ship is moving, and everyone involved is pretending this is a normal workplace. Small boats are vital because they can reach places large ships cannot. They can move people, inspect areas, support security, and connect the sea base to whatever is happening nearby. But small boat work is exhausting. Wet gear, heavy gear, night operations, engines that need attention, waves that do not care about your knees. A floating sea base gives those crews a place to come back to, not a resort. Nobody is putting a mint on the pillow, but a place with fuel, food, repairs, radios, planning spaces, and bunks is a very big deal when the alternative is staying exposed longer than necessary. A secret mission needs more than bravery. It needs communication. The ESB includes command and control capability, meaning it can help connect teams, aircraft, ships, and commanders. Public descriptions mention enhanced communications and C4I support for mission planning and execution. That is a fancy way of saying the ship helps people know what is happening, where assets are, what changed, who needs help, and what the next move should be. Hollywood makes command centers look like glowing screens and people shouting dramatic sentences. Real command work is often quieter and more stressful. Maps, radios, updates, weather, fuel, states, timing windows, risk decisions, contingency plans. The ship becomes a nerve center. If a team is moving, someone is tracking. If aircraft are launching, someone is coordinating. If weather shifts, someone is recalculating. If the mission changes, someone has to turn confusion into instructions. That is not glamorous. It is essential. Here is what gets lost when people talk about massive military platforms. People have to live inside them. An expeditionary sea base is not just decks and equipment. It has berthing, it has workspaces, it has mess areas. It has passageways, watch rotations, maintenance schedules, laundry, coffee, boredom, noise, and the special kind of fatigue that comes from being surrounded by ocean for weeks or months. A civilian office worker has a bad day and goes home. A sailor has a bad day and walks down the passageway to sleep in the same metal city where the bad day happened. That changes everything. The ship is workplace, bedroom, cafeteria, gym, airport, garage, and neighborhood. People stand watch at odd hours. Someone is cooking, someone is cleaning, someone is checking equipment, someone is trying to sleep while a door slams 6 times down the hall. Someone is drinking coffee that could legally be classified as paint remover. That is life inside the floating base. One of the publicly known missions for ESBs is airborne mine countermeasures. Mines are one of the ugliest problems at sea because they are relatively cheap, hard to see, and capable of closing waterways, threatening ships, and turning normal movement into a nightmare. Mine countermeasure work is slow, technical, and dangerous. It involves detecting, identifying, and dealing with threats that may be hidden below the surface. This is not the movie version of naval power, where everything explodes in a neat fireball. This is patient, careful work, where the enemy may be silent metal waiting in the water. The ESB helps by providing aviation support, staging space, and command coordination for the systems and people involved. That is why the ship can matter before a warship ever fires a missile. Clearing or monitoring waterways can keep trade moving, protect sailors, support allies, and give commanders options. Sometimes power is not about striking first. Sometimes it is about making the sea usable again. The Navy also publicly connects ESBs with support for Special Operations Forces. Now, let us be clear. We are not pretending to know classified details, because that is how people on the internet embarrass themselves with confidence and no clearance. What can be said is simple. Special operations require flexibility, staging, communications, aviation support, boats, equipment, planning areas, and a way to operate far from normal bases. An ESB is built for that kind of flexibility. It can support teams without looking like the center of the universe. It can provide a floating place to prepare, launch, recover, refit, and coordinate. And that matters because special missions often depend on timing and distance. Too far away, and you lose options. Too little support, and risk climbs. Too much visibility, and the mission becomes complicated before it starts. The floating sea base gives commanders a tool that sits between a giant carrier strike group and having nothing nearby. That middle space is where a lot of real-world military work lives. The strange thing about an ESB is that it is huge, but its purpose can be quiet. A carrier announces itself by being a carrier. A destroyer has obvious weapons. A submarine has mystery built into the name. An expeditionary sea base looks like a massive working platform, which is exactly why it is interesting. Its power is not only in weapons. Its power is in enabling other people to do their jobs. It gives helicopters a deck. It gives boats a home. It gives teams staging space. It gives commanders communication. It gives sailors a place to live and work. It gives missions endurance. That is not flashy, but it is the kind of capability military planners love because it solves practical problems. And practical problems are what ruin missions, not always the enemy. Sometimes it is fuel. Sometimes it is distance. Sometimes it is maintenance. Sometimes it is weather. Sometimes it is the fact that humans need sleep, food, and a place to put their gear. Think about a road trip. If you drive across the country, you rely on gas stations, hotels, repair shops, restaurants, maps, and cell service. Now imagine doing the same trip where the road is moving, the weather can shut everything down, and the nearest gas station is hundreds of miles away. That is life at sea. The ESB is like moving the gas station, motel, repair shop, dispatch office, and equipment warehouse closer to the route. Except the customers are helicopters, boats, sailors, and mission teams. And the parking lot is the ocean. That is why older Americans who remember long deployments, Cold War tension, or watching the Navy operate around the world understand this better than most. American power has never been only about big weapons. It has also been about reach. Can you get there? Can you stay there? Can you support people once they arrive? The sea base answers those questions with steel. Everything on an ESB happens under weather. Wind affects flight operations. Waves affect small boats. Heat affects machinery and people. Salt affects metal. Visibility affects planning. Storms affect everything because storms are rude like that. A civilian airport can pause operations and send people inside. A floating base can pause too, but it is still floating in the weather it is trying to survive. That means crews constantly adapt. Tie-downs are checked. Equipment is secured. Flight windows are watched. Small boat launches are judged carefully. Maintenance crews fight corrosion like it owes them money. This is where the human story matters. The ship may be massive, but daily success comes from thousands of small, disciplined actions. A line secured correctly, a hatch closed, a tool accounted for, a radio check completed, a watchstander staying alert at 0300 when the rest of the world is asleep. That is how a floating base stays ready. Another quiet weapon is the ability to reset people and machines without sending them all the way back to shore. A helicopter crew may need fuel. A boat crew may need food, water, batteries, or a place to fix gear. A mission team may need to review what happened, change plans, reload equipment, and go again. On land, that sounds like stopping at a warehouse, airport, hotel, and operations center. At sea, those places do not exist unless somebody brings them. The ESB brings them. That does not mean life becomes comfortable. It means life becomes possible. There is a huge difference. The ship gives crews a place to catch their breath, check weapons and radios, repair what broke, and prepare for the next launch. It turns one difficult mission into a series of supported moves instead of one long, desperate reach from shore. And for commanders, that changes confidence. A plan with recovery, refuel, maintenance, and backup is not the same as a plan that depends on everything going perfectly the first time. The ocean loves ruining perfect plans. The sea base exists because professionals know better. Inside the ship, the secret mission depends on very ordinary details. Trash has to move. Food has to be cooked. Water has to be managed. Fuel has to be tracked. Spare parts have to be logged. Medical supplies have to be ready. Passageways have to stay clear. Laundry has to happen because even elite missions smell terrible after enough days at sea. This is where civilians often miss the story. They see the helicopter and forget the person cleaning the galley. They see the boat launch and forget the person ordering parts. They see the giant ship and forget the watchstander making rounds when everyone else is asleep. But the machine only works because thousands of boring tasks happen correctly. Boring is not small. Boring is the foundation. People hear secret missions and imagine hidden rooms, black helicopters, and somebody whispering into a red phone. The real secret is less dramatic and more impressive. It is the system. A sea base works because aviation, boats, maintenance, berthing, communications, food, fuel, security, and command all connect. Remove one piece, and the whole mission gets harder. The cook matters. The mechanic matters. The deck crew matters. The radio watch matters. The person cleaning a passageway matters. The planner staring at weather matters. The supply sailor who knows exactly where the spare part is hiding matters more than any movie ever admits. Secret missions are not carried by one heroic character walking in slow motion. They are carried by systems full of tired professionals doing ordinary tasks with extraordinary consequences. It is easy to look at a massive ship and talk only about technology, but the ship does nothing without people. Somebody misses birthdays on that ship. Somebody eats holiday dinner from a tray. Somebody watches home through a lagging video call. Somebody works nights. Somebody fixes equipment in heat. Somebody launches aircraft in wind. Somebody stands watch while everyone else sleeps. That is the part worth remembering. The Expeditionary Sea Base is impressive because it extends American reach, but it is also impressive Because humans make that reach possible while living inside a steel platform far from normal life. No driveway, no backyard, no quick run to the store, no stepping away from work, just ocean, mission, crew, and routine. And when that base appears on the horizon, it brings one message with it. Distance is no longer enough to keep America away from the mission. America's massive floating sea base is built for missions that need reach, flexibility, and support far from shore. It can support helicopters. It can stage boats and equipment. It can help command and control operations. It can provide berthing and workspaces. It can support mine countermeasure and special operations missions. It can move a base closer to where it is needed. And behind all of that is the human reality. Sailors and crews living inside the machine, doing the unglamorous work that makes the dramatic mission possible. That is what makes the Expeditionary Sea Base so powerful. Not because it looks like a movie hero, because it quietly brings the base with it every single time.